he makes no promises.
Nope, never.
All right, good evening, everybody. We are here again with another Release the Quacken episode. So we are getting everybody set up and online here. Looks like Jody's joining the fun tonight. Jody, we are already live, so just be ready.
Hi, guys.
All right. So give people a second or two to log in and make sure you give StreamYard permission to access your Facebooks. If you make comments, we can see them coming up through here. But how's everybody doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, all good here.
So tonight we got Lonnie with us, we got Jody, we got Kevin, we have John, and we have another set of special guests. We have James and Brenda Rothstein, the folks from Minnesota, joining us tonight. So we're going to kind of go around the table, see how training went last week, talk about what's on the calendar for next week, talk with them a little bit about what they're running down here in the next couple months, and kind of get their perspective on why they're deciding to do this crazy and why they fly south. So how'd the training go last week, guys?
I'll say for me, it went pretty good. I was starting to feel better, so I was able to get in 3 runs this week. Today, went out and got in 4 miles, which was about what I wanted to do. So that was really cool. But gosh, our humidity and temperature was insane today. I'm sure you guys were all dealing with it too. But I mean, the dew point was like 78. Temperature was in the 80s, and it was miserable. But you know, I felt good to get out, and I went early. It was like 8:30, something like that in the morning. So got out and got it done with and had a fun rest of the day.
What about you, Kevin? How'd yours go this week?
So this week went really well. It's one of the longer ones that I've had. You know, finally we had a 7-mile run on the schedule this week. Got my 2 weekly runs, you know, maintenance runs in, and then almost ran out of time yesterday to do my 7-miler, and I didn't get started until 9:45 at night. So that was a late run. About halfway into it, it started pouring down rain. So that actually turned out pretty good because it was still very humid up until that time, and so it felt good to get the extra couple miles in. That, you know, that's the longest run I've had since the Flying Pig. So
me too. Now I know, Jody, you're on a different training schedule because you got some other goals coming up here this fall. So what was your plans this week like? And I know you were kind of trying to catch back up a little bit. So how are things going with you?
Yeah, so recovering from being sick. And then Monday I did 3 miles I found the one flat piece of land in Cincinnati. So I touched that on Monday. On Wednesday, I had to do Coach Twiggs set me up for a 5-mile run with a 1-mile magic mile, which I was really excited about my magic mile time. And then he sent back, he's like, "Hey, I noticed you're slowing down. Is everything okay?" I'm like, I was so proud of myself. Like, I was like, remember, I was just deathly ill. So I did that on Wednesday, and again, I was pretty excited until I got that reply. And then Saturday, I did 11 miles. Tim did the prescribed 7 today. Ridiculous. Did it in too hot of heat. Didn't get out early and was pretty miserable with it because he went out too late. So, you know, this time of year, you got to get up early and get it done or else you're going to die. So
Literally, yeah.
So you running the middle tonight?
So Coach Twiggs is one of those beatings will continue until morale improves kind of guys, it seems.
Well, everybody else is like, "Oh, he was so proud of me and he's been so encouraging." I'm like, "Oh, he was not happy with my results." So I don't know, maybe. So I did my magic mile. I did it in my 2-mile run, 30-second walk, which is what he said. Next time I need to do it in a 2-mile run, 15-second walk. I don't know, but you know, it's still gosh darn hot. So I was like, "Can you cut me a little slack for that?" So again, I was dying last week. Like I was like literally in bed last Monday for the entire day. So, but I don't know. We'll see. But I did it. So it's over. So.
All right, James and Brenda, what are you guys running? What's your upcoming things? What kind of plan are you guys following? So we can kind of get an idea of what you guys got going on.
Yeah, so next on tap for us is Twin Cities Marathon Weekend, the first weekend in October. And I'm going to be doing the 10-mile race on Sunday, but James will be doing the full marathon.
Wow.
So we have very different things that we're training for right
Absolutely.
now. Yeah, and then
then-
after that, we'll jump into marathon weekend training, kind of make that transition.
So you guys got big fall goals. I know, Brenda, you're also doing Wine and Dine.
Yep.
And then in January, James, you're doing Dopey. Is that correct?
I am doing Dopey. We
All
got
right. And
our dear, all of our favorite friend Florence that we all know is watching our kids, so that we can run the half marathon together.
Yeah, somebody
Aw.
offered to
That's
take our
great.
kids overnight so that we could wake up together at 2 a.m. and be able to leave the room to go run the half together.
And I
Wow.
wasn't going to be able to do Dopey because Brenda, we were
Because of
Brenda,
kids.
yeah.
Like,
and Brenda was going to run the full or the half, and I was going to run the full, and then like Florence offered that to us, and I'm like, oh,
yes.
that means I can do Dopey then. So
awesome.
That is so
That's great.
incredibly amazing.
Yeah.
That just made my heart. I feel like the Grinch who just made my heart grow like 10
Right?
sizes bigger. That's so incredible.
Right? We felt the same way when it
they're
happened.
like, yes, please, and we love you. Unfortunately, our kids have to stay at the Grand.
Shucks.
Oh,
Oh,
Well, that's
Chucky
yeah.
Barnes.
I know. I know.
So
Go
go
whatever.
through.
Right?
So
So
with this-
I'm actually following Jeff Galloway's 10-mile training plan from the Run Disney website right now. His his Tower of Terror 10-miler plan.
Okay.
So I had 6.5 miles this morning for my long run,
Wow.
and the weather was cool and cloudy, and it was lightly raining on me for the second half of my run today, and it was amazing.
That is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I really have no running plan because I'm not that running. So I just go do whatever I want to do, and it works out in the end.
So you're 8 weeks out from a marathon and you're winging it?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Oh, he didn't train for Dopey last year either.
so I did
Oh, man.
a weekend or last Saturday. I did 16 miles, and then with my works, I was gonna go run up like 6 miles this weekend. But then on Friday, when I was gonna go out, I was walking down the stairs and like I had a slight twitch in my finger and my foot, and I was like, I'm not gonna go out. So I cleaned up my car, which is quite an accomplishment and a workout in itself. So I call that a win.
That's cross training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
absolutely.
It was.
I made my kids do it actually. So I didn't
It
do
worked for Karate Kid.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Wax off.
Yeah.
So is your race October 1st and 2nd? Is it like a same day, same weekend, or how's that
Yes.
work?
So we're actually doing October 1st. There's a 5K that we're doing with the whole family. So both of our kids are doing that with us. And
That's
then
awesome.
on Sunday, the 10-mile and the marathon are at the same time.
And do they offer a half too, or just the?
Nope. I don't think so.
No, just
I don't think
10
so.
miles.
Yeah.
It's apparently it's one of the most beautiful courses in the United States. It's a run from Minneapolis to St. Paul. And one of the ultra marathoners I follow, he's like, that's my third favorite race in the entire country. It's like,
Wow.
okay, we'll see how it goes.
Brenda, I know you and I are both listen to Another Mother Runner podcast, and they talk about that race a lot. So that's
Yeah.
been one that I've. Plus, I keep thinking Minnesota in October would have to be nice and cool and beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
There's a couple other sets of lizards going to be there. So, there could be a 2023 or 2024 lizard party up here.
Right?
Awesome.
That does sound awesome because I've heard a lot of good things about that race too, and I'd really love to do it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So,
That's not a bad
future
idea.
goals.
Digital.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Lonnie, what
because
about
this
you?
year I've got Detroit, I think 2 weeks after the Minneapolis one, or that would have been a fun one to try to sneak in.
Are
Yeah.
you doing the international to that, John, or just the US side?
I think I'm signed up for the international right now. I honestly don't remember because it's been deferred for like 3 years. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the international one though. I guess we'll find out when I get there.
If you cross a border or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, oops, I forgot my passport. Sorry. I guess I only ran 2 miles.
How'd you do, Lonnie? I know you were a little under the weather last week as well. Everything's back to normal. You're back to training, I see. So, how'd
Yeah,
you go?
everything's back to normal. I pushed back my training by 1 day, so I still was doing the Galloway plan. So started on Wednesday, did the 45 minutes. Couldn't sleep Friday morning. Just woke up real early, so decided to just do the 7 miles then. Right, so I kind of flipped it. Did the 7 miles on Friday. Felt really good, and then today I just did another 45 minutes to kind of get back on that natural schedule. So nothing odd happened, just a standard couple of runs. It was pretty cool.
Good. No lingering effects of illness or anything, so you're in good shape and just back to hitting the plan like normal, huh?
Well, for some reason I'm slower, but I don't know if that's the illness or lazy. One of them, I don't know. But I'm gonna blame it on the illness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But it's just so hot, right? So I'm taking time off. I'm not trying to go for speed or anything like that. In fact, I was talking to some friends, and I was like, look, I'm just waiting for it to get cooler out here so I can start running more of the hills. Because we are very hilly here, right? So that'll usually help me with the speed aspect of it once I get back outside. So, we'll just take it slow into that time when it cools off enough for me.
Good. I know I got my 3 runs in. This is 4 weeks in a row. I haven't missed one, so we're grateful
Really
for
good.
that.
That's great.
But again, like everybody else across the nation, it's pretty hot here too and humid. So my Tuesday run, I just decided to go out and just walk the entire 45 minutes. Wasn't trying to push or anything, just time on feet. That was a big mental change from last year because those are one of the ones where I felt that I had to run all those. And if I didn't run, I would just kind of skip it. And I paid for that during marathon weekend when my feet ached. So even if I just go out and walk the miles, if I'm not running, if I don't feel like it, if I get out the door and I walk the miles, it's going to really pay dividends come January. My Friday run, Carly joined me for a couple miles. So that was nice. She's kind of just starting to ease back into it, trying to get through her knees and stuff. So she joined me for a couple miles and I finished that one out. And then today I went out before it got too hot. It was real overcast, but it was still pretty humid. Got my 5 miles in of 30-30, and then I just walked the last 2. So kind of just a little bit of cool down, but I'm still well above the Balloon Lady's pace. I've been kind of finding that I'm like one long run behind where I should be. So last week was 5, or 2 weeks ago was 5, and I got through about like 3 or 4. And then my leg just kind of done, so I kind of walked the last mile. This one was 7, so I ran the 5, and I felt okay for the 5, and then just kind of walked that out. So hopefully at some point I kind of catch back up to where I should be with these, but doing okay.
But Jeff, like you said, it's time on your feet, right? You're getting the miles in.
And it's hot. It's really hot.
Yeah. So I think it's a huge accomplishment to get through that, whether you run the whole thing, walk it, whatever. I mean, you got the miles in, and that's
the ones
huge.
and remember the runs that feel the hardest like that, you gain more from that than you do from one you fly and you run like your fastest run. You really get a lot more out of those tough runs than you think. So.
Yeah. I was talking to Gene today. It's 2:30, and he was at mile 3, and he's running outside. And he's like, man, he said, dude, it's so hot. He said, man, I said, dude, just stop. I said, just walk. Do not try to keep running. I said, just the walking to do, right? You don't want to overdo it now, especially early in training. Trust me, you have a lot of runs left. You have a lot of runs. So just take your time, man. I think you approached it perfectly by just walking it.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? I don't know if any of you guys listen to Runners Without Limits. Is that what it's called? With Jen and Heather?
Yep.
Yeah. So that I listened to their episode today, and it was about building habits and that type of thing. And I mean, really, a lot of it was, nothing's going to be perfect. That just doesn't exist, right? So get that out of your head. And if you can get out there and do your runs, get something done, some type of movement, something you feel good about, right? That's all that matters. And you'll be okay in the end, So I think that's one thing too, that, as we're going through all the trainings, you're going to miss runs. You're going to not have great runs, whatever, but don't, for people out there listening, like, don't get discouraged and think you're not gonna be able to finish the marathon, because you will, right? You're going to get through it. And especially if you get down there and you find friends to run with, like we all did. I mean, it's good. You're going to get through it. Just realize that you're not getting through every single run without a minor issue or something popping up. And, you build up that consistency, and it becomes a habit of moving your body, working out, doing your mobility work, doing your stretching, all that kind of stuff just starts to come naturally. And you get to the point where you feel weird when you don't do it. But don't let it, don't force yourself to go out and do something like Gene running in 99-degree heat today in Louisiana.
Brenda, that kind of leads me to a question for you. I know when I first started, I don't want to say following you because that makes me sound like a stalker, but when I first started engaging with you on the Lizard page, I guess is a better way to say it. I always noticed that you were doing what did you call them? Tiny runs or
tiny circles?
Tiny circles.
So why don't you share with everybody? Because that I think was that was a habit. I mean, you were really great about doing that, like figuring out a way to figure it out and make it work. So
Right.
can you tell everybody a little bit about that and then now that you've changed careers a little bit and how that's progressed?
Yeah, definitely. So I had never been a runner my entire life. James had never been a runner his entire life, like mocked runners. Why would you do that to yourself? It seems miserable, like terrible. But on the flip side, we were really big Disney people. So it was January 2019 and we're watching the like social media coverage of Marathon Weekend. And I was like, gosh, I want to do that. And so we talked about it and we decided we were going to sign up for a couple races for January 2020. And I was like, if we're going to do this, I want to try to run. I don't want to walk it. Now, we live in Minnesota, though. I was not running outside in January, and we didn't belong to a gym or anything. I had no idea what to do. But one of the things that I had already been in the habit of doing was walking just these tiny circles back and forth from our living room to dining room, like while I was watching TV or something, just trying to get my steps in, to not sit on my butt the entire day. Like, being a stay-at-home mom with school-aged kids, I had lots of free time to be lazy. Let's put it that way. So I was like, okay, one day I'm going to start like trying this running thing. And I just kind of started jogging in my living room in this teeny tiny house that we lived in at the time. It was literally 8 paces from one end to the other, where like wall to wall, where I had to turn around. 8 steps, one direction, and then I would flip and I would go back. And like, I just did it. I started doing it and I didn't hate it. And it was kind of funny to me that I was doing these tiny circles inside our tiny, tiny townhouse in our tiny living room. And, eventually 3 or 4 months later, a friend of mine was like, hey, the community center has a track that's free to use, right? And you can just go there. I was like, nope. Obviously. Then it got nicer and I was able to go outside. And, since then we have not only moved, but also bought a treadmill, which was part of Dopey training for last year. But yeah, it just started out with these tiny circles. I did multiple 5 of tiny circles in our house. Actually, a year ago when we were Dopey training, he did a full half marathon of tiny circles.
Oh my
in our
goodness.
our treadmill had been delivered already, but it was delivered with a broken cord. Like
Oh.
the cord was underneath the treadmill in the box, completely sliced through, and we were waiting on delivery of a new cord. So it's this big, like 1,000-pound paperweight in our living room, basically. But he was committed to doing a half marathon for his training, and also committed to not running outside in Minnesota. And he actually did a full half.
Finished in like 2 hours and 6 minutes or something like that.
Wow, that's super fast.
Yeah.
Right?
That's insane.
Right?
She handed me a margarita. It was great. At 11 o'clock.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Pretended he was at Epcot finishing a race or something.
Were you dizzy from like turning or did your knees hurt from turning so much?
So I had one knee where I pivoted each time. Like that hurt for maybe 2 months after. Like I wasn't able. It hurt. But so yes, it didn't hurt at the time, but later on it did some damage.
I never had issues.
Didn't you have character stops too? Am I remembering this correctly? That you had like, okay.
Yes, we borrowed some of the kids' stuffed animals and pulled them downstairs and randomly took some pictures with them. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that, just being so impressed with everything about it, but especially that part.
If he was going to commit to doing this, we wanted to make it as fun as we could.
Yeah, makes sense.
So why do you guys do this? I guess you're committed to doing it. So why do you guys fly south? So what makes this something that you want to keep doing?
Mostly because of everyone in this chat and all of our other friends. For me personally, like, our running group drastically changed our lives. Like, we wouldn't be in the shape we are in now. We wouldn't, like, if it wasn't for the BR Guys podcast, the Lizards, like, our lives would drastically be boring. So, like, it's all about the friendship and, like, getting to know you guys, and also it gets us in good shape.
I love Run Disney too because I consider myself to be a slower runner, and it's so welcoming to runners of all paces. And just having like all of the photo ops on the course and the character stops. Like there's some people push themselves to go fast, but for most of us, like that's never been my experience. I'm never going to push myself for pace, but I'm really not going to there. And they make it okay. Like we were nearly at the time limit for the marathon last year, and I couldn't care less because we did it, and I'm still a marathoner, and I'll be a marathoner forever because I did it. But am I gonna and you have those distractions along the course too. I don't think I ever want to do a marathon here at home because I don't have the fun things to keep me motivated along the way. But down there I do. The races are just so fun down there.
Yeah,
I think that
and
could be a common theme.
Anytime we can escape Minnesota in the wintertime.
Yeah, that too.
There.
Yeah.
And you talk about how welcoming and what a great community it is. I remember, Brenda, the first time I ever reached out to you on Facebook Messenger, it was about a skirt you were wearing that I just thought was super cute. And I was like, hey, I'm a fellow lizard and I really like your skirt. Can you tell me where you got it?
Right?
And that to me is, and I know for you guys that are listening are like, oh, how silly, but that was you were just like, hey, this is where I got it, and this is where she is, and this is all the information. And you were so welcoming and just kind, and didn't be like, hey, crazy lady reaching out to me who I don't know at all, asking me about my skirt. You were just like, oh, okay, here's the information. And I've spent a lot of money with that woman now since you recommended her. So, but I just feel like you talked about how awesome this community is, and I just think. And then when you get to meet someone face to face for the first time, you're like, oh, in person, you're here in person.
Right.
I've virtually talked with you for a long time. So,
And I think that kind of touches on John's point a little bit, and Jody too. We had met James and Brenda for dinner, I think Friday night before the half, and John joined us that night as well. And that's the first, we were in the same place at the same time a couple years prior to that, but we never talked. We didn't know each other. And that was the first really time we sat and talked and everything. It didn't seem awkward at all. Everybody just kind of, because you have those interactions. And like John said, that when you get down to marathon weekend and you just find somebody to run with and it just kind of makes the miles go, if you're down there and you don't find somebody to run with, find us. You can join at any point in time and never do this alone. I mean, that's not something you're down there to have fun. So don't do it alone. But
this past one was my first real time going solo, and so one of the first things I did was go join you guys for dinner at homecoming. That was the first thing I did, and it was awesome. You guys made me feel so welcome and had a blast. So
So fun.
Good deal.
So what's everybody got on their calendar for next week? What's their training runs looking like? I know we got our normal 45 minutes, and then what is it? 3 miles next weekend, just a nice little recovery.
3 miles Saturday. So we have our 2 standard 45 minutes for Dopey. It's 30 to 45 for Goofy, and then our regular 3 miles. And something that James said, and James, you kind of breezed by it, but I think it's to come back and revisit it because I think it's extremely wise. And that is when you were going down the stairs, felt the twinge, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to run today. And I've always told people when I talk to them about running, I say, you know what? You run the training run or run the race that the day gives you. And for that day, you just didn't have it, right? So you decided to do something else. I think that is that's so important, especially as we're starting to kind of dig into what, we're going into the 7th week of training. We're going to have those things. So thank you so much for bringing that up. I think that is awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
This week, I'm hopefully doing a 17-mile run this, sometime the next week, and either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or sometime in there. So the day before, I like to prep myself where I, don't drink too much alcohol, don't eat any gluten, and have a good diet, and then that always helps me get through the races or the runs. So, and then come home, ice bath.
Now, when you say not too much alcohol, we're still having a few drinks, right? I mean, you're not going monkey.
I limited
too much, I guess is the question.
4 ounces total. So of bourbon.
Okay.
So, yeah. So a little, but no beer because that's gluten. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And you mentioned something that I've really grown to not like at the beginning, but love after the fact is the ice bath. That's something that those long runs, there's nothing better. It hurts really bad to get in, but afterwards it is like the best thing you can do. It just feels so much better.
That's what I did for marathon weekend after the half and the full. First time I've ever done it. And after the full, like I did a 10-minute ice bath and I got out and I did 20 squats with no pain.
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
then he was doing squats in our hotel room afterwards, and he's like,
like,
"This doesn't hurt at all."
It was incredible.
Ice bath, that's the key.
I don't think our hotel room had a bathtub. I'm going to use that as my excuse. I think it was just the shower.
I made like 15 trips to the ice machine.
Yeah,
so did he.
I bought my trash bins, and there we go.
Yeah.
So I just need a commercial ice machine at home.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, Minnesota in the wintertime, you could probably just same thing as Detroit. Yeah, I could just go in my backyard and
Right?
put
Just
my
lay
legs in the
down.
snow.
Jump in the snow.
Yep. Well, anybody else have anything else they need to add this week before we hop off of here?
One thing I want to add, James, I love seeing all of your designs, what you do on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you want to say your Instagram name. Guys, if you want to see truly woodworking talent, go ahead and you need to follow James. Every time I see it, I'm like, this is awesome. So would you mind sharing your Instagram page?
So I'm at Dreaming Tree MN for Dreaming Tree, Minnesota. Walt Disney had a Dreaming Tree. I have a laser engraver and CNC machine, and it works out.
You
And
can
you
also
can
find
find
his
his
stuff at
products.
Homecoming.
Yeah, I was going to say you can find some of his sample of his works at Homecoming at Walt Disney World at Disney Springs, which is really cool. So it's fun to be like, I know someone, I know the person who did this.
Right?
I'm still in shock and awe that worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad it's awesome.
Absolutely.
So when do you guys get you're flying down on Wednesday for marathon weekend or Tuesday, and you're bringing the kids with you this time, huh?
We are flying down Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's this whole new world of I'm working now, so I have a limited number of days off of work that I can take, and our son is in middle school now, so missing days of school are a bigger deal for him. So finding that balance.
Yeah, that they weren't with you last year, right?
No, they were not.
Yeah.
It's
So this will be interesting. I'll be curious to hear after the fact how this goes with them in tow.
It's gonna be great.
Oh, no, you're like,
My daughter's listening. It's gonna be great. Hi, Molly.
it'll be awesome. You have your own personal cheerleaders.
Absolutely.
We do.
In a few years, you just need to get them running too, and then have them. You said they're already doing 5Ks and stuff, right? So they got a good start.
So they are actually doing the 10K with us at Marathon Weekend.
10K. That's awesome.
Yeah, we've done a number of 5Ks together as a family, and neither of them have done a 10K before. Our daughter particularly is not thrilled to do it.
It will be great.
I'm sure it's going to be super fun. And the Disney races they're not like competitive, right? You guys have been through it, so it's so fun.
Oh, it's fun. So much fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll be there to cheer you on.
Absolutely.
She's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. If we don't have anything else to touch base with for tonight, I guess we will see everybody next weekend. We appreciate James and Brenda coming on tonight and talking with us about their experiences and a little bit. I'm sure they'll catch us on some other show, and you'll see them in the group as well. But if nobody else has anything else to say for the evening, we appreciate you listening. And just remember, forward is a pace. So have a great night, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Bye, friends.
Bye.